Hello designers, this is Rebecca and I'm going to show you how to set up your mailer in Illustrator. So if you set up your poster in InDesign, that's totally okay. You can still set up the back of your poster in Illustrator if it's easier for you. You can also try to use some of these techniques in InDesign if you're more comfortable there, because you can do most of these things in InDesign as well. So let's go ahead and start with a new file. This is going to be a legal size document. So we're going to go to our print profile in our new document window and choose legal here. And then we can name this whatever we'd like. I'll call it mailer for now. I'm going to change my points to inches for my measurement units. We'll leave our orientation vertical. I'm going to make two artboards. So that's for those of you who want to lay out your poster side in Illustrator. And then let's go ahead and leave all the other defaults the same. We don't need any bleeds today. We'll hit create. All right, so I'm going to show you. So let's say you probably already laid out your poster separately because it has different dimensions. You can grab all of the text and stuff as a group and bring it over and just place it here across this whole first artboard. If you find that things don't fit, then you can eliminate little things because the dimensions are a little bit different. Or you can just rescale and just have a larger border around one of the sides or two of the sides there. Okay, so those are your options. So the left side is going to be your poster and the other side is going to be the outside of your brochure. It will be broken up into three panels. So let me show you what that looks like. So here's your poster. For example, I just took this poster, scaled it down so you can see that I have a larger border on the top and bottom, and I centered it. You can align it closer to the top and have a larger footer if you'd like, whatever you want to do there. If you have a heavily text-based poster, you're welcome to omit some lines of text to make it fit this even better. So when they open up this brochure, it's going to open up vertically and it's going to show your gorgeous poster on the inside, and they're going to love it so much they're going to tack it on their wall and keep it forever or frame it. So then the back of the brochure is going to be these three panels, and that's because the brochure will be tri-folded, um, and the center panel is going to be the address. Then the second panel will be this area. You can put whatever you'd like in there. It's going to be tucked under this third panel. So when this brochure is closed up and they receive it in the mail, they'll see your address, their address, and your address on one side, and then the third panel on the other side. Then they'll open it up and see the second panel and part of the poster. They'll open the whole thing up and see the rest of the poster on the inside, okay? So if you don't understand this, if it's not making sense to you why these panels are upside down, go ahead and take a piece of paper, just a letter size piece of paper, scrap paper, whatever you'd like, write on one side poster, and then flip it over because this is going to be printed just on one sheet of paper. It would be two-sided if we were to actually print these and have them mailed out. And on the other side, um, right at the bottom, panel 3, then flip your paper, rotate it 180 degrees. In the middle, right panel 1, address, and on the bottom, then right panel 2. Then fold it into thirds, and then interact with the brochure and um, see how it opens up, see why this is upside down here, and you'll just have a better understanding of it when it's more tangible and you're playing with it, okay? So let me show you an example of a mailer. This one is the same dimensions of what we're working with here. So this was for a law office and they had a ton of copy. As you can see, it's like very cluttered, just like Victorian design. Just kidding. But so when they opened it up, it had all of this information that the lawyers whittled down as much as they could. Then over here, this is the center panel for the back of the brochure. This is the mailing panel. This one, for some reason, we were able to print in that OCA area. So, you know, the OCA area, it just depends on the specifications. Like you have to run it by um, whoever is printing these out for you and sending them. It's usually done through a printing company, but they'll let you know if you can or can't print in this area. For our assignment, we cannot print in the OCA area, okay? So anyway, here's the address, and they also have like you know, a little attention getting uh, like burst there that says only $225, amazing. And then their second panel is this one here. It's just a little sort of intro to what's on the inside of the brochure. And then the third panel is actually a part that they could cut off to mail in for the registration, because this was sent to older people that may not have been very computer savvy at the time. This was several years ago. Okay, so it's all right with mailers if you are a little redundant on some of the information that you give on these two panels here. Then and like what I'm saying is if it repeats some of the information on the inside of the brochure, because these brochures are not something that somebody sees at a desk or on a table where they're like, oh, I want to know more about that opportunity or that subject, so I'm going to take this brochure and intentionally read through the whole thing to find out more information. These are things that are getting mailed to them in their mailbox. They're shuffling through all their mail quickly, getting rid of junk mail, that kind of thing. So you want to get your attention grabbers out here on panel 3 and maybe a little on your address panel uh, that will get them to open it up and read further, right? And then attend your event. So even on this one too, you can do a little incentive or attention grabber as well, you know, to keep them opening it up to see your beautiful poster on the inside. All right. So some of those attention grabbers or incentives could be something like a discounted price, or children are free, you know, for this event only. Um, you're definitely going to want to put on the front your price and your event date, because sometimes people will not open mail for several days, and then when by the time they open it, they'll see that they missed the date. So you want that to be one of the first things that they see so they don't miss that date. The other thing is you want to have your venue maybe on this second or third panel, because sometimes people will just go to events because they love that specific venue. Um, they don't really care what the event is. They're just excited that a new thing is happening there. The other things could be like maybe a special photo opportunity, a special meet and greet, free popcorn if you get there by this certain time, or like a free merchandise thing. You know, so just think about some clever ways to get them to read on and hopefully come to your event. All right, so let's go ahead and divide this mailer. I'll show you how I divided these three panels easily, and then I'll show you all the ways to measure um, from the mail template that you saw so that it's not super intimidating. So first things first, I'm going to choose my rectangular grid tool here, and I'm going to click and drag over this second panel here. So when you first start to click and drag, you're going to get the default of 5 rows or 5 dividers by 5 dividers. And um, while you're dragging with your mouse before you release it, you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to decrease the number of dividers there. So if I hit the down arrow key, I'm going to make it 2 dividers. So it looks like 3 rows. And then I'm going to hit my left arrow key to get rid of all my vertical dividers. Okay. And then from there, I will just snap it down to the bottom corner of that artboard. And so now, since the rectangular grid tool actually lays down points and lines, it is actually a shape. So I can turn it into guides. So let's go with it still selected, go to View, Guides, and then Make Guides. And now I have these 3 beautiful dividers to show my 3 different panels. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is you can either start to design these top 2 panels um, the way your artboard looks right now, and then you can just select all of the information and rotate it 180 degrees. Or you can start by rotating your artboard 180 degrees and just make those 2 panels upside down. So let's go ahead and try that way because it's kind of fun. So you can rotate your artboard down here in the lower left corner of your workspace or from the View menu. So for now, I'm just going to click on this down arrow next to the 0 degrees there, and I'm going to choose 180. Now my artboard is completely flipped. Let's go ahead and show our rulers. I'm going to hit Command or Control R to show the rulers, and you can see them there. And then what I like to do for measuring is use rectangles instead of using the measurement tool. I'm a little shaky, and the measurement tool, it doesn't always cooperate with me very well. So let's go ahead and bring in that template so that we just have something to reference right here in Illustrator. So I'll go to File, Place, and then go find that template on my hard drive. There it is. And I'm just going to click and drop it. So as you can see, when I dropped it, it's not the same scale as my artboard. That's okay. I'm not going to take it and mess with it uh, and like lay things over it like I normally would a template. I'm just going to use it as a reference. So it dropped it in what looks like upside down, but remember, we're actually working upside down. So I'll go ahead and rotate it so I can read it. And I can just increase the size a little bit to make it easier on my eyeballs. Great. Okay, let me move it over a bit. So, beep. Okay, great. So how this works is, let me go back to our page here about creating your mailers and your postcards. So I added some clarifying text here. The address rules is that the standard address block, that's this white rectangle right here with this auto 5-digit text shown at the top. It's usually a 4-lined address plus a barcode and an OEL, which stands for optional endorsement line. And that should be a total, this whole white box, of 3.75 and 1.75. So it says that there is, that the area that the type goes in is actually 3.5 by 1.5 for the text, and then it has eighth inch margins, okay? So that's 0.125 is 1/8 inches. And it must be placed at least a 1/2 inch from the right side and 5/8 inches from the bottom of the mail piece. So when the mail is getting fed into this machine that reads these barcodes, um, it doesn't matter how long this piece of mail is or how wide it is, it's reading this area here, okay? So it's got to be clear of this 5/8 and 1/2 inch over here, all right? And then we have our OCR read area. This is 2 inches tall and then a 1/2 inch from the left side as well. So we're always just working off of the right lower corner. So let's go ahead and go back into Illustrator with that information that we have now. And I'm going to create some guides to work with to start. So I could just click in my rulers here and start dragging guides, which is totally fine. I can do that for my vertical guides. So using my selection tool, I can click on the left ruler here and drag it over to the side. But I'm noticing that my paper isn't lined up exactly with that ruler there to make it easy for me. So I'll go over here where it is lined up nicely on this 10. And I know I need it to be a 1/2 inch. So that's going to be right here. So I'll drop that guide there. So that's one way to make a guide, okay? The other way we can do it is I know that my paper is 8.5 inches wide, and I'm going to have for my OCR area, I'm going to have it be, it needs a 1/2 inch clearance on both the left and right side. So that means that the OCR area is going to be 7.5 inches wide. So I'm going to click on my rectangle tool here, and I'm going to hold down Option or Alt and click in my artboard, and I'm going to make a 7.5 inch wide rectangle. I also know that I need 5/8 inches from the bottom of clearance. If you don't know what that is in decimals, that's okay. You can just type in 5/8 inches, IN, and hit Tab, and Illustrator will do the math for you. So I'm going to hit OK. Great. So now I have this rectangle here that I can place on the bottom on this guide right here. Then I can click and drag from my ruler along the top there using my selection tool and snap it to the top of this rectangle that I created. And now I know that the space between these two guides is going to be 5/8 inches. All right. Now if I center this rectangle to my artboard, so over here in the Properties panel, I'm going to choose Align to Artboard, and I'm going to choose Horizontal Align Center. There we go. Now I can grab these rulers, grab my guide from my ruler and snap it to there, and then go over here and snap it to there. So that's even, so that's like, oop, let me try it again. Sometimes when I release my mouse using my trackpad, I nudge it by accident right before I release. There we go. So now I'm going to go by these guides that I just placed with this rectangle, okay? So if I want to, I can delete that rectangle. I don't really need it anymore. So I'll hit delete, and now I've got these guides to work with. Perfect, really great. Next, I'm going to drop in a rectangle just as a space holder, or you could put in another guide either way. I'm going to use my rectangle tool for my OCR area. So that's going to be 7.5 inches by 2 inches. So let me hold down the Option or Alt key and click in my artboard and just hit 2 inches for my height since my width is already 7.5, and I'll hit OK. Great. So I will just fill this with gray so that it kind of looks like my artboard, or my template, I mean. So let me give that a gray. There we go. And I'm going to also take away my fill because I don't need it. I just don't want to forget about it later. Great. So now let's make our address bar, our address box there. So I'm going to make a rectangle again, and I'm going to hold down my Option or Alt key and click there. This time I know that I want the width of this to be 3.75 inches and my height to be 1.75 inches, and I'll hit OK. And now let's fill this with white. Oop, I changed my fill. Let's do a swaparoo and get rid of my stroke. There we go. Okay. And I can just center align it vertically. It's my smart guides are snapping it there. And then just make sure that it's at least, about an 1/8 inch from that edge there. And that'll keep me safe. That'll keep me in the safe zone. Next one, I'm going to do another rectangle just for fun, or I can add a stroke to this. Let's do that instead. So I'm going to grab this. I just got rid of my stroke, but we'll bring it back. I'll make my stroke like a middle gray. But this time, let's go into our Appearance panel and click on the stroke button there. We're going to make the width of our stroke an 1/8 inch. So I'm going to do 1/8 IN. So that's 9 points. But here's the important part. We need that stroke to align in the center there. So align stroke inside. There we go. Now this is going to act as our margin because this isn't a text box. Remember, this is a regular shape box. So if you're working in Illustrator, you can actually create a text box that is 3.75 inches wide and 1.75 inches tall. Then you can go into Object, text box options, and then you can create a margin that is 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And then you can just type right in there. So that's an option as well. Okay. So now I know that I can put my address in here in the white area, and it's going to be totally safe. And then I know not to drop any text down here into the OCR area. After you have laid out your delivery address and placed in a barcode, you can make the barcode by hand, or you can just copy and paste an image of it in there. You can even put in like that auto 5-digit code along the top with all the stars, whatever you'd like. Once that's done, turn off the visibility of these 2 layers, or you can delete those shapes themselves. So I don't want to see a big gray rectangle on your mailer. These are just placeholders for you to be safe, not to design in. Okay. Now let's go ahead and take a look back at the mailer rules one more time, the addressing rules. So it says to never put important information below the address box. That's this area here, because the post office may put some marks on it or a white strip. So I'm sure sometimes you've seen a barcode printed on an envelope, or even printed on a white sticker and then the sticker placed on the envelope. And that's what they're talking about. That's going to be put on by the machine. Never put the return address or any other info in the OCR area, because the machine will probably misread this actual address. The font for the address needs to be readable, so avoid using a script font, any narrow sans serif fonts, or heavy bold type. We just need to use all uppercase text, at least 10 points. Always needs to be larger than the return address text, and it needs to be a sans serif text, okay? We are also going to always left align the text. We don't center align this at all. And the delivery address always needs to be to the right side of the return address, not slightly under it or below it. It's got to always be over on that right side. Okay, so that's easy stuff, right? Then the only other requirements for the other 2 panels is to use some of your poster's fonts. No need to like redesign or reinvent the wheel for this. You've already done a lot of work picking out those gorgeous fonts, applying any kind of effects or textures. Just grab some of that same stuff and stick it on those panels there and make it fun and exciting. Like I said, it's okay to repeat that info. So after you've laid out this text and you've laid out the second panel here, then go ahead and rotate your view one more time back to normal, and then go ahead and lay out your poster and place this and lay out this third panel. You can delete this linked file of the template if you no longer need it. You can also go to view and hide your guides, or you can hide your guides in your layers panel because they're going to be layers there, so that you can keep your three horizontal ones. Oop, yeah, there you go. So those ones stay, so you can still see the difference in panels, but um, all the vertical ones, if they're too distracting, just get rid of them. So thank you so much. I can't wait to see what you make.